I don't feel so good.
One challenging part of owning a horse is being able to recognize when something is wrong. Unfortunately, horses do tend to be accident prone, and they're animals, so they can't tell us when something is wrong. We have to be able to pick up on their signs and notice it ourselves. The first thing you can look for when it comes to telling that there's something wrong with your horse is behavioral changes. One behavioral change that is a good indication that something is wrong is if your horse is displaying signs of being fatigued. So horses feel fatigued just like we do. I know when I'm fatigued, I just want to lay around or go to sleep or move really slowly, and I just have a hard time engaging and focusing. Same thing with a horse. You may notice that your horse is dragging their feet. They're not running up to their stall like they usually do when you call them. Maybe if you're riding them, they're a lot lazier than they usually are. It's important to notice these things because it's a good indication that something may be wrong. The main reasons horses may display fatigue is if they are dehydrated or have a fever or anything like that. Quick disclaimer for today's video, I am not a vet, so make sure you always consult with your vet about anything health related to your horse. Something's not right in there. Another behavioral change you can look for is a horse that's agitated. This can look like a few different things, whether you notice your horse pawing at their stomach, or maybe you're brushing them, and as you brush their back, they swish their tail and pin their ears back, and they don't usually do that. Another thing could be if you're riding them, and they're usually pretty calm and easygoing, but suddenly they want to buck when you ask them to canter, or anything like that can be a good sign that there may be soreness in the body or that the horse just isn't feeling good. So keep an eye on that, and just because the horse may act out in agitation doesn't mean that they're being stubborn. It can be a sign of a health problem. Another thing that I've personally noticed horses display when something is seriously wrong is they'll get frantic. Every horse I've seen colic is acting very frantic when I first notice it, so they'll be pacing around their stall, or they'll be laying down and standing up, laying down and standing up, just like they can't get comfortable or that they're really worried about something. So if you notice your horse displaying these signs, instead of just passing it off as your horse being anxious or worried, I would actually take time to watch them and see what exactly they're reacting to. While it's important to know the behaviors your horse may display to tell you something's wrong, horses tend to be stoic animals, so they may not always display behavior changes. That's why it's important to recognize both physical and behavioral signs in your horse. I know when I have a fever and I have a cold and I don't feel well, usually my nose is runny. So a good indication that your horse may have a virus is that their nose will be runny, and they'll have boogers in there, and it'll be nasty, gooey, drippy snot coming out of their nose. When it comes to your horse's eyes, a good indicator that there's something wrong there would be that the eyes are runny and it looks like the horse is crying, or that their eyes may be swollen and shut and they don't want to open their eye. Most times when it comes to eye injuries, you may feel like, oh, let me just see what happens over the course of the next few days. The thing about eye injuries in horses is that they can quickly progress. Maybe your horse has just had their eye scratched, but that can turn into an ulcer. It's important to act fast and contact your vet if you notice that your horse is favoring a certain eye, or if you notice that there may be a scratch in there. A super easy sign to notice that indicates if there's something wrong with your horse is swelling. So as I mentioned with the eye, if there's something wrong with the eye, it may be swollen and the horse doesn't want to open it. But likewise, everywhere else on the body, if you notice swelling to where it's hot to the touch, that's a good indication that there may have been something wrong. So if you notice like in their chest, that could mean they got kicked or they've had trauma there. It's important as you're brushing and working with your horse that you're just paying attention to how they're responding, but also any changes in the body. So if you do find swelling or a stiff point compared to normal. One obvious sign that your horse may have something wrong with their hooves, legs, or shoulders or hips is if they're limping and they're head bobbing. That means there's pain somewhere in that area of a leg. So what I like to do is if I think my horse may be limping or they may be off, I'll just have them trot, and then I can look to see if there's any one specific leg they're favoring or if they're head bobbing a lot. Not every horse will display lameness by just you going to grab them out of the field and leading them back to the barn. Sometimes you may get on them and start trotting, and you'll notice that they just seem a little off and they seem different. They're not moving as they usually move. So at that point, if that was me, I would get off the horse and have them trot out to see if there's any lameness and what leg it would be. Okay, you've determined that there may be something wrong with your horse. So at that point, what do you do? One of the first things I'd like to do is a dehydration test. So if a horse is maybe fatigued, they seem lethargic, I'm gonna check to see if they're dehydrated first. So the first way you can tell if your horse is dehydrated is through the capillary refill test. And with this, all I'm gonna do is look at my horse's gums. I'm gonna press my thumb into their gum and hold it for probably 10 seconds, after which then I'll remove my thumb and see how long it takes blood to refill back into the thumbprint. Another way is called the pinch test. So with this, you're really gonna test the elasticity of the horse's skin. And if it's not as elastic, that probably means the horse is dehydrated. So what you're gonna do is you're gonna just pinch their neck and take a good bit. You can even kind of twist it a little bit. And then when I let go, I'm gonna see how fast the skin drops back into place. So it went right back into place. So if the horse was dehydrated, the skin wouldn't bounce back like that. It may just stay kind of like in a little bump where I pinched. So if you notice your horse just isn't themselves and maybe they're fatigued and lethargic, you're also gonna wanna take their temperature. A horse's normal body temperature is between 99 to 101 degrees Fahrenheit. So you wanna make sure their body temperature is in that range. So if you need some more detail on that, click this video here and I'll walk you through it. So if you think your horse may be having problems with their digestion or even colicking, one thing you can do is listen to their gut. And so you can put your ear kind of right here in this little groove and listen. And it's gonna sound like rolling, thunder, water. And if it sounds like that and it's making noise, that's a good sign that your horse's digestive system is working properly. So if you don't hear anything, that could mean they're having a real problem with their digestive system. So what do you do if you notice a swollen area on your horse? Well, you can put a cold compress up to it. So if it's your horse's eye, you can hold a cold compress up to the eye just to help decrease swelling. You can also cold hose it just to run cold water over the swelling. So if it's like on the horse's leg, and you can just do that for 10 to 20 minutes at a time, that can really help the swelling go down. To determine what you need to do when a horse has a swollen area, you really just need to see how the horse is responding to it. So if Tucker has a swollen lower leg, but he's not really limping, maybe he's just stiff, then I know that, okay, maybe he just needs to move around more to get that leg circulating so that it doesn't get stocked up. But if they're limping profusely on that swollen leg, that can be a good indication that maybe it was injured and there could be something more serious. If your horse has an open wound, you're going to need to clean off the wound to assess the damage. So once again, you can use cold hosing with this to hose off any blood or debris or dirt that may be in the way. You need to determine how serious the cut is. So let's just say it's just a surface scrape that maybe bled a little, but it's gonna be fine either way. You can just put some SWAT on there, which is kind of like fly repellent cream, and then just monitor it to make sure it doesn't get infected. You can clean it out, put some antiseptic on it, but you should be good to go from there. If it's a deeper cut that you think may need stitches, I would just say call the vet. Even if you're questioning whether that's the case, always call the vet in that circumstance, because you wanna make sure it heals correctly and that there's not any further damage, especially if it's done to the leg. So if you notice like a puncture wound on the leg, like there's an opening and there's a hole, there can be damage inside the leg that you don't know about. So with those situations, it's a good idea to call the vet and have them look at it. If you are looking for some guidance, whether it's with horse care or horse training, I have online courses that can walk you through certain situations and help you have a better understanding of what you need to do. Go to shop.equinehelper.com and I'll put the link in the description for you to check out. Subscribe!